Hello, what is your favourite RC brand? That's a question I can't really answer so easy as an adult. As a kid, back in the day, yeah, absolutely. Things have changed. There's a few reasons for that. First of all, there are more brands than there used to be. And even the budget, cheap brands make mostly good stuff nowadays. Okay, there are some exceptions. You still get the occasional piece of junk. But back in the day, most of your really cheap stuff was just flat out junk. However, I don't think that's the main reason that I can't really answer this question, or that it's more difficult to answer this question, because there were plenty of brands back in the day. There really were, and there was plenty of good stuff back in the day as well. What were the other reasons? Well, you have more available to you as an adult than you do as a kid, don't you? I mean, unless you're maybe one of your parents is a shop owner or mad into the hobby or something, and then you have lots of exposure to lots of different brands and lots of different models, then that'd be slightly different. Or if you're a rich spoiled brat, you'd maybe have a lot of stuff. But for most people, as a kid, you get one for your birthday, you get one for your Christmas, something like that, or you save up a long time with your pocket money, eventually buy something. It's a little bit different. Your world opens up to you as you start, becoming an adult, and you've got an income, and you can afford things, and actually, okay, an RC car is quite expensive, but compared to the cost of living, a single RC car is actually relatively cheap. Whereas as a kid, the thought of even £100, £200 was just beyond you. So that was part of it as well. You do have more available to you, so therefore it's harder to narrow it down. And the internet as well plays a big part. We'd had no internet back in the day. How did you choose which car to get for your Christmas, for your birthday? Maybe the Argos catalogue, or maybe the BT's. I miss BT's. BT's was so good. The BT's catalogue or whatever. Looking through them, oh, that one looks cool. But there's only a small, cross section of what was all out there. And then even if you go into the shop, my local shop's Tay Models, he doesn't stock every brand in the world. So without the internet, you look at that and you go, okay, this is what I know is available. Well, what else is available? I got no idea. So that's obviously part of it. But I think, honestly, the biggest reason I couldn't answer this question, no, I could maybe answer it, but then have a different opinion next time you ask me, is as an adult, and I'm going to speak for myself here rather than just broad, because too many adults these days seem to not have this ability. And it's a bit weird. But as an adult, I find it much easier to look at things objectively. As a kid, not so much. Yeah, much easier to be a fanboy when you're a kid. I'll give you my story. My first proper hobby grade RC was a Tamiya TL01 with an Alfa Romeo 155 Ti V6 Bosch shell on it. Basically that. This one I bought because that was my first RC, although that's not the exact one. That was my first car. Was I a Tamiya fanboy? Not really. It was just my RC car. A close friend of mine had one as well. He had a Kyosho. It was belt drive. Had a Raleigh body shell on it. I believe it was a Mitsubishi Lancer. I can't remember. I think that's right. And I liked my Tamiya better because it was faster than his Kyosho. So to my young mind, the Tamiya was better. It probably wasn't. Objectively, it probably wasn't better because it made a screaming noise. It has so much internal friction because that car doesn't come with, I mean, this one does have it, but that car doesn't come with bearings at all. It's got plastic bushings, some brass bushings. It came with a manual wiper arm speed controller. I don't know what the Kyosho did. It might have had an electronic one. It came with friction shocks, not oil-filled shocks. Didn't have real suspension. I mean, it was suspension, but it wasn't damped. I don't know what the Kyosho came. Maybe it came with friction shocks as well. Maybe it had oil-filled. I don't know. The point is, Tamiya wasn't great, but to me it was amazing. And we slowly upgraded it and stuff. But I wouldn't call myself a fanboy of it because it was just, this is my car. It's an Alfa Romeo. At that age, I didn't really dwell on the Tamiya part of it. It was more, here's my racing car. It wasn't really the brand thing. And then I was perfectly willing to accept that something better came along. One of the other friends at high school, or was it primary school, can't remember, it was a long time ago, got himself an HPI Sprint, and it was immediately obvious the Sprint was the better car. It was so much quieter than everything else. it was so much faster because it was so much lighter than everything else. So you pick it up and it was half the weight of everything else. You could see it had all nice anodized purple bits on it. It had lovely looking shock absorbers on it. You could see this was a better car. So I got a Sprint, and it was night and day different in the Tamiya. And then other people got Sprints as well. And eventually there was a few of them because it was such a great car. The HPI Sprint was a wonderful car. Was I an HPI fanboy? No, not really. The reason being is I started going racing, and the HPI Sprint, my highly modified by this point with fully adjustable links and everything, was one of the worst cars, probably the worst car there, because everything else was at least club grade touring cars. The Sprint is a street level car, which I'd upgraded. Great car, but not a racing car. And so for Christmas of 2002, I got the Team Lossy Triple XS, which is that one up there, the dark red one. And that was the most competitive chassis in the world at the time, especially on indoor slippy wooden floors. It was just, it was the king. Great car. I was a Lossy fanboy. I was absolutely a Lossy fanboy. Lossy were kicking arse. They were so good. The car was brilliant. And even when we laid the carpet out, racing in carpet as well, the chassis, it was the Lossy guys that were winning. And I was just about at the level of the team drivers, but not quite. So I was good enough that good equipment made a difference, but not good enough to get the good equipment for free. So and then I had a rival, and he had the same car, Lossy Triple XS, and it was great fun. And I, from that day, was a Lossy fanboy. Shouldn't have been. As an adult, I would have just went, this car is wonderful. Lossy are obviously capable of making a fantastic race car. That doesn't necessarily mean that everything they make is fantastic. But no, I was a Lossy fanboy. And when it came to the point where I wanted to buy a monster truck, I automatically went, well, Lossy. Didn't do any research. Just went, no, it's Lossy, it'll be great. Didn't look into it, didn't really consider the specs. And I got the Lossy High Roller, and it was pretty terrible. Really weak drivetrain. Tall, spindly. It didn't roll over too much considering the stance of it. Looked good. Quite weak in a crash. Yeah. The drivetrain was the biggest issue though. Wasn't great. And a few years later, the thing is, okay, I thought it was, okay, that was a bad Lossy. Fair enough, they can make bad cars. But I kind of still considered it an exception to the rule. And then I got a Lossy Triple X SCT as a short course truck, brand new. And my brother-in-law got an HPI Blitz. And we raced them together, and the Lossy was a racing truck and the Blitz wasn't. It was a bashing truck, so the Lossy handled slightly better. And it was a great truck. It was brilliant. Was it worth the extra money over the HPI though for a basher? No, not really. But it was good. It was a good truck. And then part support stopped, and I sold it on and all. So that was the last new Lossy I ever bought. And as an adult, I should have. If it was me now looking for a short course truck, I would look at Lossy, but I would also look at everybody else. That's the difference. You can look at things objectively and say, yes, but this one has this one has these, this one has this spec. You look at reviews and you're willing to accept the fact that maybe you were wrong. Whereas as a kid, I think I was a bit more stubborn. So now I'm not a fanboy of anything really. I'm struggling to think of what brand I would consider my favorite because, for example, I've never really been burned by a Tamiya. I enjoy the lunchbox. I enjoy the dump truck. I enjoy the TL01. But I enjoy the TTO one. But they're not brilliant because they're not dynamically brilliant. They're not crazy high spec. They're just tunable, upgradable, fun. A bit silly, some of them. And And that's what I expect of Tamiya. I go into a Tamiya build with a different expectation than I would be building a Yokomo or a Team Associated. So yeah, it's tough. The whole hobby is so diverse in terms of, look at this shelf, for example. There's nothing similar between that Lossy and that Corrali at all, really, apart from they've got wheels on them. So yes, tough question. I haven't been burned with Tamiya, but I don't think Tamiya's ever actually blown me away either. The Triple XS blew me away. It was so good. As soon as I ditched or sold on the HPI Sprint, heavily modified HPI Sprint, that car as standard, even though I didn't understand how to set the car up, I had the wrong springs, the wrong shock oil, and was overgeared. I got punted up 2 separate finals from, I think, the D to the B, or maybe the E to the C or something. I jumped 2 grades straight away because it was so much better. That blew me away. I've never really been blown away by a Tamiya. I've just giggled my arse off at how fun they are. So take that as you like it. I mean, if I was to look at any brand right now that I'm really super impressed with, it's G-Made. Super impressed. I'm really enjoying my G-Mades. But I've only built 2, ran 1. Just recently finished my newest G-Made, but I haven't driven it yet. I've only driven it around in the house, it doesn't count. And it's not quite as quiet as the old one. So, am I a G-Made fanboy? No. It's probably the brand I'm closest to, if I was to pick one, because when it comes to trail trucks, they're my favourite. But I'm willing to give the other ones a shot. I'm willing to admit where some other ones are superior. It's yeah. That Yokomo MR4 TC Custom, wonderful touring car, fantastic touring car. So I've never been burned by Yokomo, but I've only ever owned one. Can't really consider myself a fanboy or take any conclusion as to the entire range. I've only ever owned one old touring car from 20 plus years ago. And it's been mad rat, great buggy, but they don't exist anymore. The point is, I don't think I can sit down and tell you what my favourite brand is. If you had to twist my arm right now, I'd probably just say Tamiya. I have a lot of good memories with Tamiya. I've never been burned by Tamiya. I know what I'm getting with a Tamiya. But there are echelons above. I mean, okay, the TRF is slightly different, but the actual base Tamiyas, there's the echelons above them and cars that could run circles around them. But that's not the point. So yeah, it depends what you're into. Also brands change. Brands they change. Take Lossy for example. They now have non-adjustable trucks with 2-in-1 ESC receivers. I don't think a brand like Team Lossy should be producing trucks like that. They've got ECX now in the Horizon brand to sell all the cheap stuff. A Lossy shouldn't come with that. I don't think. That's my opinion. And then you also have things like the Super Baja Ray 2.0. Wonderful truck. Costs about $1,000 or more. And having a major problems with the stickers and graphics put on with no effort whatsoever. Really? Look at HPI. I still love HPI. But when was the last time they did anything right? I mean, the Venture's a great truck. But they completely screwed up the release of that truck. They released one ready-to-run body shell that splits opinion because some people think it looks great and some people think it looks really ugly. And they include a servo saver with a trail truck. The HPI Savage is around 3,822 years old, and they're still selling it and going, look, new Savage. You're like, you mean new body shell? So yeah, HPI haven't done a lot great for many years now. I still love HPI. Damn it, I still love HPI. But brands change. Look at Traxxas. Traxxas started off in the 80s selling racing buggy kits. Now they don't make anything of the like. I don't think the Traxxas personnel know how to spell the word handling. But it's just, they've gone that way with the market. things change, and you know, you got to judge an individual product by its own merits, not but it came from these people, because these people are people and they don't get it right every time. That's something as a kid I didn't seem to realize. Oh, that was close. That was very close. Wow, that was that would have been bad. That would have been bad, but it wasn't, so it was good. Anyway, what's your favorite brand? Do you have one? Can you give me a definitive answer? And why? Anyway, I'd like to hear from you. In the meantime, take care. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.